Okay, this picture is very important for Daniel chapter 8. There are two beasts here in Daniel chapter 8, the ram with the two horns, the goat, the he goat with the one horn which broke off, and four horns came back in its place. So here, this, remember the original image, the original vision of Nebuchadnezzar, the head of gold, chest of silver, and so on. So we've done Daniel 7 already with the four beasts, lion, bear, leopard, and the dreadful and terrifying beasts. So who are these two beasts, the ram and the goat? If we This is the timeline, and this are the various kingdoms that came up, the four beasts, so to speak: Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. So the ram with the two horns is actually Medo-Persia, and the goat with the one horn, which later broke into four, is Greece. Greece, Alexander the Great, who died, and then his kingdom was split into four. But the most prominent of the four would be the Ptolemies and the Seleucids. That would be the most prominent of the four kingdoms. And then 167 BC, the Jewish people in the form of Maccabees and the Hasmonean dynasty came back to rule themselves for a short period, only to be overrun by Rome. So keep that in mind as we go through chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8. Okay, you have to refer to the picture in the previous picture, then you'll see the timeline. Here, the rest of from 7 onwards, 7 to 12, Daniel has 12 chapters, is really visions, single visions during the various periods. This 7 was the first year of Belshazzar, still Babylonian kingdom, and 8 is third year of Belshazzar, so it's still Babylonian kingdom. And here he's given a vision. So in this chapter 8, he's given a vision during the reign of Belshazzar. That means it's still Babylon. And in this vision, verse 2, I found myself in Susa, Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Uriah. See, so he lived in Babylon. He was in exile. He lived there, I think, from the time he was taken, 605 BC, to his death. Never went back to Judah. So here, there's still the Babylonian kingdom, and he finds himself in the Medo-Persian capital. How did that happen? So this is the vision. He found himself in the palace. He saw by the river a ram with two horns. Okay, the two horns were high. One is higher than the other. So these horns are not symmetrical. One is, it's offset. One is bigger than the other. Fine, this terrible ram with two horns, which is kind of offset, not symmetrical. And then I saw a he-goat, a male goat, I suppose, with a horn between his eyes, a single horn. The two eyes. So it's more like a unicorn. A unicorn has that head, but here this he-goat, this male goat, has just one horn between his eyes. Okay, verse 7, and I saw him come close to the ram. This ram is huge with two big horns, and this little he-goat with one horn came next to it and smote the ram and broke his two horns. And there was no power in the ram before him, and he cast him down to the ground and stamped on it, and he became nothing. These two horns, powerful and mighty as it looks, with the two big horns, became nothing. And this little he-goat, verse 8, became this he-goat waxed very great And when he was very strong, the great horn was broken. And guess what? That came with the single horn came was broken because he was so mighty and strong. And four little notable horns came up towards the various directions of the heaven. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great towards the south and toward the east, and it waxed great even to the host. So the four horns came up, and one of the four horns became greater than the other. So they're not equal in power. One is more powerful. Verse 11, and he magnified himself, even the Prince of Hosts, and by him the daily sacrifice were taken. So here, and then there is a timeline given in verse 14. The timeline in Daniel is really hard to try to figure out. I think one can spend a lifetime and not figure out timeline, because later on in the future visions gets more difficult, even though the angel Gabriel came as it did here. I saw a man who came, and the man came to explain what the vision is. So even later on, angel Gabriel came to explain all of his visions, and even so, it was not easy. So, okay, verse 20, he says, the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Greece, Gracia. And the great horn, the single horn that is between his eyes, is the first king of Greece. And when it was broken, it was four little horns came up, and these are the four kingdoms that shall stand out of the nation. Okay. And at the end, verse 27 of chapter 8, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days, and afterwards I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, and none understood it. These two, 7 and 8, are Daniel's individual vision. It's not given to any king, like before it was given to Nebuchadnezzar, and he had to explain it, but this was his own vision. God is telling him something, and we know what it was. So the four beasts we already know, which came true. And here there are two beasts only. The ram with the two horns, and the little he-goat with the one horn, which was later replaced by 4 horns. So what could that be? It just shows to Daniel that the Nebuchadnezzar's vision of that gigantic figure is coming true. The head of gold, the chest and arms of silver, and so on, that each kingdom will supplant the one before. And here he finds himself in Susa, the capital of the Medo-Persian kingdom. Is that, why am I here? Because Medo-Persia is going to conquer Babylon and destroy Babylon. And itself will be destroyed by Greece, by Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great would die very young, and his kingdom would be divided into 4, the 4 little horns. So what is Medo-Persia? Understand that there is Persia, where Cyrus lives, and Cyrus conquered the neighboring country of Media and Elam. So it says here that he found himself in Susa, which is in the province of Elam. So this is the Medo-Persian Empire. Elam possibly not so strong, but definitely Medo and Media and Persia being the strong ones. It's always referred to as Medo-Persia. So sometimes Cyrus is called a Mede, sometimes a Persian, but definitely Darius is a Medo-Persian. His father is Persian, his mother is Media, Mede. So that's why the three kingdoms actually formed together to form the Medo-Persian Empire. So you have the ram with the two horns. They're not equal. The horns are not equal. Persia being stronger than Media, having conquered Media and Elam. So they too will disappear because the little he-goat, Alexander the Great, will come out of Greece to destroy the Medo-Persian Empire, and it will no more. It'll be like, it will stop here. We hear of it being destroyed to pieces and disappeared. And Alexander the Great would die young, it says here, and the big horn, the first king of Greece, will be replaced by 4 little horns. So his kingdom would be divided into 4. And the 2 of them that we are really concerned about, that really affects the Bible, is really the Ptolemy. Who are the Ptolemies? Is Alexander the Great's general in Egypt. So the Ptolemies would rule Egypt for a while, so it's Greek. And Cleopatra was a Ptolemy. And the Seleucid dynasty in Syria and the Mesopotamia would be under Seleucus, one of Alexander the Great's general also, and that's Greek. So to form the Seleucid dynasty and empire that would rule over Israel for a while. And the last and most evil one is Antiochus Epiphanes, who went into the temple and forbade all temple worship, and asked that all Torahs and religious Jewish books be destroyed. And he was replaced by a revolt of the Maccabees, a Jewish group, forming the Hasmonean dynasty, and they rule over Israel for a short while. Then the Romans come. So these things is being played out in, albeit in Daniel's time, he saw some of it because he lived under Babylon and then he lived under Darius. So he saw part of it happening in his lifetime. And this is so significant. We always think that the ram with the 2 horns is Alexander the Great. No, it's not. It's the Medo-Persian Empire. The little horn is Alexander the Great, who dies early and was replaced by 4 little horns, the 4 kingdoms that would rule different parts of that area. And this is historical, and it is really exciting. Well, you have to be excited about history in order for this to make sense. And I will go into chapter 9, which is another vision. Chapter 9 is the most difficult, that even today it has floor marks a lot of theologians, and they still don't agree. And I will try to do it.